Sex with a pig.
Night. The sleep of Prime Minister Michael Callow and his wife is interrupted by a phone call. The Prime Minister reports that something is bothering him, but he can't say anything clearly. It is only clear that what happened is related to Princess Susanna. In the cabinet, the Prime Minister and his aides gather. They received a video of the crying princess. Michael is bewildered, while his guests are focused and waiting for him to realize the situation in order to continue the conversation. Someone off-screen is speaking with the princess. A male voice forces her to read announcements from the screen. Susanna introduces herself and informs that she has been kidnapped. She warns that finding where she is being held or identifying the criminal is not possible. Her life now depends on whether the Prime Minister will meet the demands of the criminal. Before the girl voices the demands, one of the guests pauses the video to say that it is indeed the princess and not a setup or prank. Susanna was returning from a wedding when she was kidnapped, and 2 guards were drugged. The Prime Minister asks what the criminal demands, but the visitors, looking down, repeat. The Prime Minister's patience wears thin with the hint. He is told that the demand concerns him personally. After this, he resumes watching. The demand is quite simple. At 4 p.m. live on all national television channels, the Prime Minister, without any staging, must engage in sexual intercourse with a pig. Mr. Callow is dismayed, calling the situation a stupid joke, and categorically states that he will not copulate with a pig. People in suits understand his position. However, it turns out that the intelligence services cannot find the criminal, and the video has already been uploaded to the internet, where it has gone viral and spread. So now the whole country, not just a handful of high-ranking officials, is aware of the kidnapping of the princess and the demands made. A young couple, waking up and seeing the now popular video, begins to discuss what is happening. However, there is not a word about it in the television news. Instead, it is reported that the scandalous exhibition of a certain artist, Carlton Bloom, will be closed 3 weeks earlier due to sharp negative reviews. Meanwhile, over morning coffee at one of the news agencies, journalists argue whether to cover this incident. Some argue for the need to tell the truth to the people, while others are ready to adhere to a voluntary ban. The situation is exacerbated by the fact that the entire internet is already aware. Journalists on Twitter are asking uncomfortable questions like, why are the media silent? The dilemma is resolved when foreign television channels begin to broadcast the video. Now there is no point in concealing and hiding. The head of the UKN channel informs the government press secretary that they can no longer adhere to the ban. Then the Minister of Internal Affairs, Alex Cairns, initiates a backup plan. It involves fabricating a video. A special effects master will attach the Prime Minister's head to the body of a porn actor who will participate in the act of bestiality. But the difficulty lies in the fact that the kidnapper has outlined very clear technical conditions. A continuous shot of the entire act from a single camera in constant motion is required. Employees of one of the hospitals stand in the hall in front of the television, waiting for news about the princess. The broadcast is interrupted by an urgent news bulletin with this sensation, which attracts an even larger crowd of curious onlookers. Forgetting about their chores and responsibilities, ordinary citizens flock to screens across the country, savoring the details. While the broadcast is airing, one of the journalists contacts her informant in the government, using hints of intimacy and nude photos. The girl tries to extract secret information from the wanker. The media spin the materials and conduct surveys among the population. The majority of citizens support the Prime Minister's refusal to comply with the demands. His rating steadily rises, but such attention, especially the comments on the internet, is not very pleasing to the Prime Minister's wife. She bursts into the meeting and dismisses the people in suits to talk to her husband face to face. The spouse is concerned about the situation that has developed, but Michael tries to reassure her. He says that the intelligence services will soon find the kidnapper, and he won't have to do anything. However, the woman is worried that some of the ordinary citizens have already mentally pictured the entire situation, and now this stain will remain on their reputation forever. Viewers in hospitals continue to watch television, discussing the technical requirements in passing. Sanitary workers compare the kidnapper's demands to Lars von Trier's Dogma 95 doctrine and conclude that these conditions are necessary to prevent deception and fraud. At the same time, Queen herself calls Michael Callow and asks him to do whatever is necessary to bring the princess back. The technical specialists manage to trace the location from where the video was uploaded. The Prime Minister orders to send an operational group to the abandoned campus. On the film set, the special effects master is fully prepared for the shoot when a porn actor arrives, recognized by one of the technicians, who takes a photo from memory. Meanwhile, a young secretary eavesdrops on the press secretary to gather information about the abandoned campus, where the kidnapper presumably holds the princess hostage. For this, the young man receives another nude-style photo. The operational team arrives at the target building and awaits the command to storm. The press secretary informs the Prime Minister that official statements are ready and that, according to polls, citizens sympathize with the politician and view the kidnapper with disgust. If the princess cannot be freed, most will not condemn him for refusing to comply with the demands. A package with a flash drive and the princess's severed finger is delivered to the UKN studio. The video on the flash drive starts with the princess's words. The video shows the bound princess and the kidnapper pointing the severed finger at the camera. The Prime Minister and the Minister of Internal Affairs discuss the situation with the backup plan involving a substitute actor, which clearly violates the blackmailer's demands. The display of violence throws Michael off balance, and he becomes enraged, realizing that the situation has changed. He will likely have to personally bear responsibility for the princess's fate. Alex Cairns talks about the leak of the photo of the hired porn actor. After the video with the severed finger, public opinion sharply shifts. Now the majority believes that the Prime Minister must comply with all the criminal's conditions. Against the backdrop of new developments, the operational group receives orders to begin the assault on the campus. Equipped with body cameras and helmets, the team enters the building, while the cunning journalists hide in the nearby bushes. Spotting the special forces, the girl calls her boss at the TV channels and warns that she is preparing sensational material with the filming crew. However, the police detain the van with equipment and the cameraman, forcing her to sneak into the abandoned campus personally. Operatives find a mannequin with a laptop in one of the rooms, which they mistakenly assume to be the bound hostage. Subsequently, the journalist reveals herself, conducting a live broadcast via smartphone. Special forces open fire in the direction of the journalist, resulting in her sustaining a non-fatal gunshot wound. There are 40 minutes left until the deadline. The Prime Minister is nervous and refuses to concede. The Minister of Internal Affairs persuades him to accept the conditions, as otherwise, the video recording of the princess's murder could be leaked online, inevitably leading to mass unrest. The decisive argument is that if Michael refuses, everyone will turn away, and no one will be able to guarantee the safety of him or his family. The moral and ethical aspect of the issue seems to concern only Michael himself. As for everyone else, the matter is already resolved. Journalists are broadcasting live from the center of London. A motorcade is transporting the Prime Minister from his residence to the filming location. Ordinary people, exemplified by hospital workers, are confident that the politician will comply with the demands. Michael's wife tries to reach him to convince him not to give in to the blackmailers, but he doesn't pick up the phone. On the way, Mrs. Cairns tries to cheer Michael up. She mentions that a law has been passed stating that storing and distributing the video recording of the upcoming act of bestiality after midnight will be considered a crime. The press secretary announces that before the live broadcast, there will be a request to refrain from watching and a signal inducing nausea. However, in the next scene, it is evident that ordinary people are not ready to miss out on this. In one of the pubs, people are packed like sardines, with new arrivals constantly streaming in. The country is frozen in front of screens, awaiting the resolution. The specially sedated pig remains calm during the process. Warnings about the upcoming indecency are being aired on all channels. The patrons in the pub cheerfully welcome this news, raising their glasses. Someone hits record, accompanied by the warning about the illegality of keeping a copy of this broadcast. Despite the warning sound signal, none of the viewers leave. Several shots of completely deserted streets indicate that the entire country is glued to the screens. However, the question about the children remains unanswered. Could it be that they too have gathered somewhere and are watching instead of playing outside? The Prime Minister walks down a corridor guarded by armed soldiers. He is given pills, presumably for virility, so as not to let the nation down at a critical moment, real Sigma moment, and to make it easier to cope, films of a certain content will be broadcasted. It's worth remembering, psychologists advise not to rush, otherwise the country will think he enjoys it. The Prime Minister was very upset about this. The Prime Minister enters the studio alone. Televisions on the wall display movies featuring a plumber, a policeman, and a pizza delivery guy all rolled into one. In the middle of the room, there is a huge pig. Apart from the cameraman, with a camera on his shoulder, and the sound engineer with a microphone, there is no one else here. The broadcast begins. Joyful viewers speculate whether he will do what is required or not. The Prime Minister says he loves his wife. Barely holding back tears, Minister Callow removes his trousers. The viewers continue to rejoice, but when he gets down to business, disgust appears on their faces. Some turn away, while others, on the contrary, cannot look away from this momentous, one might say, historical moment, and only the Prime Minister's wife watches the broadcast in her bedroom with an indifferent expression. At the same time, on a completely deserted bridge in the deserted city, Princess Susanna staggers, shaken by what she has experienced. She doesn't quite understand what is happening. The scenes are interspersed with scenes involving her captor. He sets up a stool, puts a coil of rope on it, while the whole country watches as the Prime Minister copulates with the pig. The princess, for whom all this was planned, collapses unconscious in the middle of the bridge. The broadcast lasts almost an hour. During this time, the kidnapper manages to hang himself. In the frame, his bloodied hand with a severed finger is visible, while the princess still lies on the bridge, embodying the moral and ethical values of the entire nation. After fulfilling the conditions, the Prime Minister calmly vomits in the bathroom. The Minister of Internal Affairs waits for him at the entrance. When she is informed over the phone that the princess has been found drugged, with no memory of anything but alive, and even with all her fingers intact, it becomes clear that part of the kidnapper's body was sent to the TV studio. But the most interesting part, cameras had spotted the princess half an hour before the broadcast, but no one bothered to discover her earlier because all attention was focused on the TV screens. The minister orders this information to be excluded from the report so that no one, especially the Prime Minister, finds out about it. Michael's wife tries to reach him again, but he is just crying in the bathroom. We fast forward a year to the anniversary of Michael's public humiliation, where he attends an event with his wife, addressing students at a school. Princess Susanna is expecting a child. It is also reported that the culprit of all the events was the artist Carlton Bloom, whose exhibition had been planned to close a few weeks earlier due to negative reviews and accusations of indecency. However, some critics considered his performance the greatest masterpiece of the 21st century. But that doesn't make the Prime Minister's wife feel any better. Behind closed doors at home, away from the camera lenses, she wants nothing to do with her own husband.